It's absolutely apptacular. The Subject Cinema Android app. Everything you need to be a rabid Subject Cinema fan. Subject Cinema, 3-Minute Weekend, Tuesday Digidex, and Front Row 5 and 10. All right at your fingertips and available instantly. Plus, email and voicemail links, Facebook and Twitter hookups, Patreon support specials, and more is coming real soon. Don't just listen, app it. The all-in-one Subject Cinema podcast app. Android version available now at Google Play or on PNRNetwork websites. Amazon and iPhone apps coming soon. Don't delay. Download today.
Blueberry. This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
This weekend marks the end of summer. End of the beach trips, and end of swimming in the ocean. Mm-hmm. Why is there a pile of sand in the living room?
I just shook out my shoes.
We didn't go anywhere near the beach.
I know, isn't that amazing?
It's also our final drive-in summer show, at least for this year. And we're going to salute that by talking about drive-ins in the drive-ins. We'll explain that in a minute. Plus, we have a freeze frame, our first one this summer, about a certain topic that's near and dear to our hearts because we can't figure out what the hell they're doing. And a few other things going on as well. And it's all happening as part of our triple feature weekend right here, right now. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
Stay tuned, folks. It's time
for Subject Cinema's Drive-In Summer.
Good evening, folks, and a hearty welcome to our drive-in theater.
Cinema. Drive-in summer. Summer.
End of the summer.
Yep.
Blah.
Yep.
End of fun, end of vacation, and plunging headfirst into Oscar season.
Or football season if the TV's anything to go by.
Well, football season's for the sports fans. Oscar season's for the film fans. Of course, it's just as bad sometimes, too.
Yes. And you know what else it is?
What?
3 months till Christmas!
Yay. Welcome to Subject Cinema's Drive-In Summer. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown. It's also 2 months to my birthday. Shop early, shop
I knew
often.
she was going to get that in. I knew it. Drive-In Summer has been a lot of fun this summer. We only did 12 shows instead of 15 because of stuff going on, but it's been a great deal of fun. And we've saluted a ton of drive-ins. We'll talk about them later on. And it's been a lot of fun doing it. And I've enjoyed it. It's too bad there are no drive-ins for us to actually attend around here.
No.
The closest one's in Mendon, which is 40 miles away, and we don't have a car.
Yeah.
So it's a bit difficult to take the bus to drive in.
Yeah.
But we drive in spirit out there. And, I used to go all the time when I was a kid, and Kim went once. But, drive-ins are a part of America's staple foods, so at least of the past generations.
Yeah.
And a lot of times...
It was a rite of passage for summer.
And a lot of times they've ended up in movies and television shows as featured players.
Yeah.
And that is the subject of this week's Microfocus. Subject Cinema Microfocus. can forget the iconic scene of John Travolta standing in front of a drive-in screen singing Sandy in Grease? Mm-hmm. The whole scene there set at the drive-ins.
Yes. Well, with all the people going, beep, beep, honk, honk, get down off the screen, you a-hole, is somehow not making it into the song.
I think that's the biggest memory anybody. I'm sure there are kids in this generation who have looked at this movie and possibly at Grease Live as well when it was on, and said, "What's that?"
Yeah.
Isn't that sad?
Yeah, it is kind of. They have to ask their parents, where are they? What's that thing they're at? And then the parents have to say, that's a drive-in. And then the parents lock themselves in the bathroom and cry.
I don't think it's that bad.
Well,
there have been a ton of movies and television shows where drive-ins have featured in major scenes. And one whole movie two whole movies based around drive-ins over the years. And we thought we'd run through some of those as our final tribute to the drive-in for this year. The two movies, one of them was a comedy, the other a horror film, or a horror. Was it a horror comedy? Because I had the distinct feeling it was supposed to be funny in some ways.
It's more or less a black comedy,
right.
I would say, is more accurate.
The comedy was called Drive-In. It came out in 1976. It was actually meant to play the drive-ins when it was made. It was made by some Texas filmmakers. The only name that came out of it of any recognition, at least to me, is character actor Glenn Morshower, who does a little bit of everything these days. If you've seen him, he's been a bad guy in the X-Men films. He's been a bad guy in this movie and that movie, and a gruff old neighbor in this movie. It was basically the whole movie was set at and shot at a drive-in. Gangs of people coming in watching a movie. I think it was called Disaster 76. It was a parody of the disaster movies. Mm-hmm. That was what was showing on the screen. I saw this once, way back in 1979. I saw it on TV at a hotel we were staying at. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, this is the most unfunny thing. This was before Airplane. So Airplane set the standard for parody. And despite, I don't think even Kentucky Fried Movie was that good. But this one, it just wasn't funny. But it looked nice. Filmed in Texas and financed by Texas State, the government. The film was originally intended to play in drive-ins before the elimination of drive-ins between the late 70s and mid-80s. Mm-hmm. I'm like... And it was distributed by Columbia Pictures. It came out on May 26, 1976. You can still find it out there. I didn't want to subject Kim to it.
Thank you.
I subjected Kim to the Big Bus last year. That was enough.
Yes, there was more than enough.
And the Swarm.
And the Swarm.
So it's like, okay.
That was worse.
It was, but the Big Bus was worse because it was supposed to be a comedy. Do you remember laughing once during that movie?
No.
I
laughed at I tell a lie. I laughed at the idea that anybody paid money to see this.
Not very many people.
No. The other movie that TC mentioned that's set for the most part in a drive-in is an Australian film, part of the Ozploitation genre of the early to mid 80s. In Australia. It's called Dead End Drive-In.
Australia was the only other country where drive-ins really took off. So.
Yeah, I mean, we have heard of drive-ins in other parts of the
world.
There are,
but I mean, Australia had quite a bit for its size, as like the U.S. did. So.
Mm-hmm. Dead End Drive-In takes place in the near future. And there's been an economic collapse. And basically what the government has decided is that anybody who is a troublemaker or is basically, society's cast-off kind of things, i.e. mostly teenagers, are rounded up and are prisoners in a drive-in. They're not allowed to leave, but they're given, food, drugs, new wave music, all the things that would keep teenagers compliant and complacent, except for this one kid whose name is Jimmy, who has the nickname of Krabs, who once he and his girlfriend wind up being captured in this community. He's determined to get them out. In the end of it, only he manages to leave because she falls into the whole attitude of it's hopeless. We might as well just stay here, eat junk food, and get stoned. It's wow. The early to late 80s, there were a lot of bleak the whole post-apocalyptic thing
That's
happening.
still going on a lot.
Yeah, it is definitely.
Thanks to the Hunger Games and the Maze Runner and all those things.
Yeah. But especially in Australia, after the whole Mad Max Road Warrior thing really took off. I mean, if you're into these kind of movies, good on you. You be you, whatever. It's just not really my bag. I just don't really like them very much. They don't do anything for me. Mm-hmm. And so, but that's one of the only ones I could find that was based exclusively in a drive-in. Mm-hmm. And it was this whole idea of a drive-in as, I don't want to use the word concentration camp. I mean, that's
what it was.
That's what it was. It was this whole idea that the government decides, well, these people are undesirable.
It was Australia's answer to Escape from New York.
Pretty much.
Putting the prisoners on Manhattan Island.
Pretty much, but it was all the whole idea. The only crime these kids committed was being young and wanting more out of life than the government was willing to give them. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's not really, I remember seeing this actually. First place I ever saw it was dating myself. In the section of the video store down the street when I grew up in Saugus.
The ones that had the VHS tapes at the time?
Yep. This little place called Video Waves. Oh, I miss that store.
What's a video store, Mommy?
Oh, I miss that store. It was such a great store. And I remember seeing
we got a lot of good rentals out of there.
I remember seeing the cover and being like, oh, that sounds interesting. And I read the back of it and I was like,
I remember
nope.
the TV ads for it, when I saw them on cable. When it came out.
Yeah. I just kind of read it and I was like, civilization collapses, blah, blah. Oh, man, not one of these again. It was like, not my thing.
I think we have the trailer on one of our
We
trailer
probably
discs,
do.
Yeah.
After these 7,900 trailer DVDs we've got, it must be on there somewhere.
Yeah. There are also iconic scenes at drive-ins. Mm-hmm. As I said, who can forget Danny and Sandy going to the drive-in in Greece?
Yes.
And along with all their friends.
However, do you remember what movie was playing on the screen? Ha-ha. Let's see how much you paid attention.
Well, we just watched Grease not all that long ago.
Yep.
And then we saw the Grease live. I don't, actually.
It was actually a real movie. It wasn't like,
I know that, yeah.
It wasn't like Killer Cupcakes from Outer Space or
Right.
some weird title or something. That would be a great title for a movie.
Could you get to it, please?
It was actually the Steve McQueen sci-fi classic, The Blob.
Oh, okay.
And considering the fact that that's about something, trying to get all up and in somebody, considering what was going on in Danny's car.
That's terrible. And that was ironic, too.
What do you say to
A
that?
movie that has a scene in a movie theater at a drive-in.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows the Blob oozing out the front doors of the movie theater.
Yeah.
That's cute.
It's like a jelly roll run amok.
That sets the stage for Sandy,
Yes,
one of the most iconic songs of the Grease
He does the
soundtrack.
whole, you've got Greaser Danny and Good Girl Sandy in the car watching the movie, and he does the tried and true and rarely ever actually works. Reach over, fake your yawning, put your arm around the girl's shoulder and slip down and try and get a handful of boobage. And Sandy ain't having none of it. Manages to get out of the car and slam the door on Danny's rising interest. And he proceeds to hobble out of the car and warble Sandy, the song Sandy, somehow not in falsetto, for the most part.
And not actually ever released as a single, which always I thought was funny that I thought Travolta could have a huge hit with it, but it was one of the big iconic songs.
Yeah.
Excuse me, not released as a single from the soundtrack. Although not in America, it was in other countries.
No, it even has drive-in. That's the first line, stranded at the drive-in. So I think that's pretty neat.
And there's an instrumental piece on the soundtrack that follows that up called Alone at the Drive-In movie. So I thought that was funny. Another iconic scene from a drive-in is near the beginning of the classic 80s film version of perhaps the best-known young adult novel of all time, S.E. Hinton's The Outsiders. Mm-hmm. This is a drive-in that has bleachers on the outside where you can sit and watch the movie. Some still do that, not very many. But
I'm confused. I don't understand.
There's bleachers out for people who walk in to see the film. The Greasers didn't have a car.
You can have walk-ins at a drive-in?
At this one they did.
Weird.
Or implied they did. Of course, it's set in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and this is how Ponyboy and Cherry first meet in a big way, where they first talk to each other. Mm-hmm. C. Thomas Howell and Diane Lane have a couple of really good scenes here, and this is where he actually, if I'm not mistaken, it's been a while since I've seen the film. This is where he actually does the whole "Nothing gold can stay" quote from Robert Frost. Is it the right cut?
I think so.
It's a really nice little scene. Of course, there's rowdy stuff going on too when the rest of the guys come in there,
right,
out of the snack bar after harassing the ladies working in there. It's a nice little scene though.
Mm-hmm. A film that didn't get much love at the box office because from what I heard it wasn't terribly funny. Considering who's involved with it, you think it would have been. The comedy Spies Like Us, starring SNL alums Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, it was a big hit.
Did it do well?
Yeah, it was a big hit, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I never had any interest in it, so...
I don't remember the critics liking it very much.
I don't think the critics liked it well, but it was a pretty big hit.
Okay.
Produced a big hit by Paul McCartney as the theme, too.
Mm-hmm. It's the story of two spies who don't realize that their latest mission is actually them being used by the government as decoys so that other spies can find a laser that the Soviets have hidden away. You have to remember this is still during the whole evil empire thing. Ask your parents, kids. And there's
Or watch the news.
Or watch the news. No politics.
What? I didn't say anything.
And there's a scene in the drive-in with that in that film as well. Taking a more grimmer stance, there is Michael Mann's film Heat, which featured a real drive-in. It was closed when the film was made in Los Angeles, the Centennial Drive-In, which had there was actually kind of an incline, I guess, to the way the drive-in was set up. So people could, get their cars and get them in a certain way so that you didn't have your car and then somebody's car right in front of your car and you wouldn't be able to see very well.
Well, they have grading in all drive-ins, so that it raises it up a little bit.
Of course, there's one film that you absolutely love that has a great scene with a drive-in.
I don't know if it's great because we get to see the destruction of the drive-in.
Yeah, but it's okay. The scene may not be great because a drive-in does bite the dust, but it is one of your favorite films.
1996's Twister, one of Anthony Lamberti's favorite films of all time too. He actually talked about this scene earlier this summer. During the midst of the 2 or 3 days going on in Oklahoma, where the tornado chasers are trying to launch their probe, they are, after a hard day's work of chasing, they stop at the drive-in, and at this point, Joe, played by Helen Hunt, and I've forgotten his name, Bill Paxton's character, Bill, she's finally going to sign the divorce papers, and she notices standing there at the concession stand as she orders a couple of cups of coffee that the TV goes haywire. Now, for those of you who are uninitiated and who did not live in Tornado Alley or places where there were, channels 2 and 13, if they're on over-the-air television, go absolutely nuts because their frequencies are very similar to the frequencies of lightning in a tornado. So the channels go nuts. It happens across the board, but not as bad as it does on those two channels. And so we see Jamie Gertz's character in the motel room, which appears to be in the drive-in, which I've never heard of. Also, her TV goes nuts, and we see this big tornado come along and start smashing the drive-in, and they all run over and get in an auto body shop down in the pit and pretty much stay safe, although the preacher gets his head hit with a hubcap.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty You were freaking out.
Yeah, I was.
She was not happy. She was not happy I dragged her to the theater to see Twister.
No, I did not. I am not a disaster. We both have genres that
I've got to get the Catastrophe Vortex back up and running, too.
I think it's perfectly fair to say we both have genres that we love and that the other member of our relationship does not.
She loves horror. I love disaster movies.
Yeah.
We each can't stand the other.
Yeah.
So.
I love classic horror.
Well, I like classic horror.
Well,
but you like bloody horror too, like Amicus and stuff, and I can't stand that stuff.
I like that stuff. The torture porn stuff leaves me cold. But
no, I'm talking like we actually sat through Herschel Gordon Lewis stuff at your insistence because you wanted to try it out, and I was just like, this is blood.
Yeah, it didn't help.
This is a comedy, right?
It didn't help that we were both sitting there snickering. I don't know what that says. But yeah, you love disaster movies, which is great.
I adore disaster movies.
I can't deal with them because I start getting like, oh crap, what if this really happens? I'm going to lock myself in the bathroom.
And yet, I've taken you through some bad disaster movies. We had a whole last year's Masochistic March was drive-in bad disaster films.
Yeah.
And you didn't have any problem getting through them because you realized how correct I was. We saw Avalanche again. We saw Airport 75 again. We saw for the first time, Kim's first time, The Big Bus and The Swarm. Mm-hmm. And you were pretty much of the opinion that they weren't worth what they were made on.
No.
So.
That's another film, actually. Twister was another film where they had an actual real movie showing on the movie screen when the tornado hit. Can you remember which movie that was? It was the Stephen King
The Shining.
The Shining.
Yeah, the iconic part where Danny's riding his tricycle.
No.
Right?
It was the part where Jack Nicholson's character is busting through the door with the axe.
Are you sure? Because I think when they first come to that scene, it's the little Danny riding his tricycle up
it
and down the
might be,
hallways.
I don't know, but when the tornado actually hits, it's the whole "Here's Johnny" thing.
Yeah, so that means they skipped a whole bunch of the movie.
Because I'm like, okay.
There have been TV shows that devoted to drive-ins as well. One of my favorites, Animaniacs episode, Drive-In Sane, where
which is from season 1, episode 53.
Yakko, Wacko, and Dot disrupt a date with Dr. Scratch and Sniff and his somewhat rotund girlfriend.
Yes, a rather robust lady named Frau Hassenpfeffer.
Oh, is that her name?
Yes.
I don't think we ever found that out. You must have looked that up on somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Otto Scratch and Sniff is out for an evening with his date, a rather Rubenesque lady named Frau Hassenpfeffer.
Stay on your side!
Yeah, she's not into the whole reason that anybody actually goes to a drive-in. And it turns out that he has some unwanted company as well in the Warner siblings, Yakko, Wacko, and Dot, who proceed to completely ruin the entire evening for him.
For him?
Yeah.
She kind of likes them.
For him, that's what I said. She thinks that they're sweet. And... it's like when you're trying to, like if you're home and you're trying to score with your girl and, your little brother shows up and your girl's like, oh, he's so cute. And you're like, beat it, you punk. That kind of a thing.
So like in Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse.
Yeah, like that. Kind of like that.
There's also an episode of, if you remember the 1970s and 80s television series, The Facts of Life, there was a whole episode devoted to the Peekskill Drive-In closing. It was called The Last Drive-In. Was from, I believe, season 6. Let me just double check here. It first aired on March 13th, 1985, and was one of 6 episodes that season that season 6, that Charlotte Rae did not appear in that particular show. Just the girls were in it. Joe, Blair, Tootie, and Natalie took Blair's car to the drive-in because it was closing. It was the last show they were ever showing, and they basically were spending the evening talking about different life and stuff and how things have changed. It was memorable, and I was thinking to myself, gee, it was right not that long after the Plaza Drive-In in Lancaster had shut up shop. The year after we moved in down there, the Skyview Drive-In, the Skyview Cruise-In in Lancaster is still going strong. There it was kind of nostalgic for me too, because I grew up going to the drive-in, so it seemed kind of weird to say goodbye to stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Couple of very different horror movies also took place at the drive-in. Mm-hmm. One of them is dealing with horror in the supernatural sense, and the other one is dealing with the fact that human beings can be scarier than any monster that ever existed. The supernatural one is Christine, the story of a boy and his car.
Based on the Stephen King novel.
Yes. Directed by John Carpenter, and there were some changes made from the book to the film. One of them being the fact that there's a scene where the main character, Arnie, his girlfriend, Leah, they go to a drive-in instead of a fast food place. And Leah is in the car eating a hamburger, and all of a sudden the radio comes on, the lights come on, and the doors lock. Something is making her choke on the hamburger that she's eating. She nearly chokes to death before she's saved by another drive-in patron. It's very disturbing because the song that's playing on the radio as Arnie's beating on the window trying to save her is I Hear You Knocking But You Can't Come In. The other film that I'm talking about is a film that's a little bit less known, actually doesn't fall into my definition of horror, because I usually think horror equals supernatural, but it does deal with the idea that people can be the most evil things ever. It's a film called Targets. Targets tells us, it's a Peter Bogdanovich directed feature. It's the story of a horror host played by Boris Karloff, who is, he's been kind of sent out to pasture career-wise because people don't want that kind of horror anymore, the whole monster booga booga kind of horror. Mm-hmm. The thing is, there is real horror out there in the form of a young man who has decided that he's going to go on a shooting spree and uses a drive-in as his place of, the place where he decides to go on this spree, going up behind the drive-in screen and shooting at people.
The sniper thing.
Yeah.
Which was and I think that happened not all that long. That movie came out not all that long after the incident in Texas with
I think you're right,
the shooter.
Actually, yeah.
That was immortalized in the animated film Tower last year.
Yes. Mm-hmm. We were talking about, before we got started, we were talking about why the drive-in died, basically.
It isn't dead.
Well,
drive-ins are not dead. That's my point. In fact, they've grown in the last few years.
Well,
there was a sudden decline.
Yeah, why
they
there
don't
was,
say they died.
Okay, well, yeah, you're right. Saying they died isn't fair. Saying that there was a drive-in slump.
Yes.
Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. That there was a drive-in. There was a point where they were very popular, and then it just started to kind of fade. Mm-hmm. But now drive-ins are on their way back, which is a great thing.
Yeah, more and more of them are restoring or coming online every year.
And we were talking about why that slump happened, and we've talked about that earlier in the summer as we were talking about drive-ins all summer long, and we mentioned the whole idea that the video store came about, cable TV. All these other things that made that, slump occur. But one thing that occurred that I hadn't really thought of until it just popped into my head. And I went, I wonder if that had something to do with it. Especially those of us who are of a certain age, I won't say what, that remember being around in the 70s, the gas shortage. There was a point in time, boys and girls, I know some of you may not remember this, and some of you were out there nodding your heads going, oh yeah, when you turned on the news and you're looking at your local Shell station and there's 10, 15, 20 cars in a line to get gas. Yeah. Because there was an oil crisis going on, and so people were having a hard enough time getting money together to get gas to go to work. Never mind, go out for a night on, go to a drive-in or something like that. So I
it wasn't that gas went up in price so much right then as it was just scarce.
Yeah, we just didn't have it.
Right.
Yeah. So people needed to, what people got, they needed for other things besides something that would be like driving off to the drive-in at night,
Right.
And I kind of wonder if that also had something to do with it. I think it might have. Something...
I do, yes, I agree with you. So what are your memories of drive-in movies? Do you have a movie that has a drive-in scene that we've left off? Let us know. We'll like to talk about it.
Is there any movie that you would love to see on a big drive-in screen? If you could pick any movie in the history of ever, what movie would you want to see on a big drive-in screen in like an flip-top convertible, whole 9 yards? What would it be?
I don't know. There's a lot of good stuff.
I know what mine would be.
I know what film I want to see in IMAX that way, but I don't know about drive-in.
No, if I could see any movie in a drive-in, in the whole 9 yards, Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Definitely want to see that on a big drive-in screen. I think that would kick ass.
You were born about 20 years too long.
I know. I mean, I know some people probably go, I know what she's going to say. She's going to say Star Wars. But and that would be up there too. But if I had one choice, it would be Godzilla. I would just think seeing that on the big drive-in screen would be cool as hell.
Well, if we're talking about, just mainstream stuff.
Well, anything. You just pick anything.
No, because I wouldn't want to see Koyaanisqatsi on a drive-in screen.
Oh, I'd throw up.
I want to see Koyaanisqatsi in a motion movie theater.
Oh, I would definitely. I would throw up, have a seizure, and keel over.
That's 4D. Koyaanisqatsi in 4D.
Oh, just thinking about that makes me queasy. Ooh.
I don't know. There'd be a lot of good stuff that we could see. I've seen a lot of what I have seen on the big screen. I mean, I saw my first disaster film at a drive-in, The Poseidon Adventure. It was bigger than life. Probably why I became obsessed with them. Something like San Andreas would be fun.
Really?
And anything with a lot of special effects that could spill out and make it look like it's coming right out of the screen.
I just thought of another one that I don't know why my mind keeps going toward the classics, but I think one other thing that I'd love to see on a drive-in screen would be Fantasia. That would be amazing, especially the end part. That would be so cool on a big, gigantic screen like that. That would kick ass.
It would. We want to know your continued memories of seeing drive-ins in the movies. At the movies, at the drive-ins, or at the theaters, whatever. So please let us know what you've seen. Subject Cinema at PNRNetworks.com.
Subject Cinema. Drive-in summer.
Want to know what new films are coming out this weekend? Hi, I'm TC Kirkham of Subject Cinema, inviting you to check out 3 Minute Weekend, our weekly roundup of all the new films hitting U.S. theaters each weekend. We've got the 411 on all the new blockbusters, indies, and video on-demand choices for you each week. 3 Minute Weekend, every Friday morning from Subject Cinema and eCinema1.com, a PNR Networks podcast powered by Libsyn. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast service.
Going Attractions, the definitive story of the American drive-in movie. A new documentary available now on DVD. The collector's edition is loaded with special features. You can get Going Attractions in your snack bar now.
Subscribe to Subject Cinema and all the PNR Network shows on YouTube. All our fantastic audio podcasts, as well as fun exclusive video projects, all in one convenient place. Come on over and join in the fun, and don't forget to click the bell for notifications when new stuff is added. YouTube.com/popcorn, the letter N, roses.
Don't forget to subscribe to Subject Cinema on iTunes. Click on the iTunes link on our sidebar or search for Subject Cinema on iTunes. Once you're there, click subscribe. It's that easy. And don't forget to leave us a comment on our iTunes page and tell everyone what you think of Subject Cinema too.
Subject Cinema. Drive-in summer.
So can I quote Mr. Magoo here?
Sure.
Oh, Warners, you've done it again.
Yeah. Or another way to say it is, if you're going to do what you're thinking about doing, don't.
Over the last couple of weeks, it's come out that Warner Brothers, in their Dr. Evil quotes, infinite wisdom, Dr. Evil quotes, are planning 3 or 4 different universes based on the DC Comics universe.
Yes, for the big screen.
They haven't done this right from the beginning, so what makes them think they'll finally start getting it right now?
No.
We talked on our movie preview show that Justice League is coming out this fall. Mm-hmm. Now comes word that in addition to the future films that they've got planned, have announced with another Suicide Squad movie.
There's supposed to be another Suicide Squad movie. There's supposed to be a Harley Quinn solo movie.
Well, Gotham City Sirens, but it's like, yeah.
There's supposed to be a Harley Quinn and Joker movie. And
well, see, that's one of the new ones. Mm-hmm. They announced a new Harley Quinn and Joker movie just a couple of days after they announced that there's going to be a hardcore Joker movie produced by Martin Scorsese and hopefully starring Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yep.
Now, problem 1, Scorsese hasn't signed on yet. Mm-hmm. Problem 2, nobody's talked to Leo about this.
Number 3, this is a horrible idea.
Yeah.
And Jared Leto's not real happy either.
Huh?
That's
why they announced the Joker and Harley movie. Mm-hmm. To kind of placate him, however you say that word. Mm-hmm. Because he was royally pissed off.
Yeah, and I don't really think Jared Leto is a person you want angry with you because...
Well, because he just is Jared Leto.
That's why. Yeah. Love you, Jared. You're fantastic. Please don't come after us because you're crazy. In a good way. But this is such a mess.
Now, they can't even get Justice League off the ground before there's rumors, as I said, that this film was unwatchable according to a screening, which we have since found never happened. Mm-hmm. Never. Nope. It was a complete and utter fabrication.
Yeah, which pretty much
on the effort of one website to sabotage the DC films.
Yeah, which pretty much shows that
they said the same thing about Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
by the way.
that people are actively trying to sink these films.
Yeah, and this isn't a conspiracy theory. Go out and look at some of these reviews. People accuse the DC fans of a conspiracy theory because we're out there insisting that they're trying to sabotage these reviews, that the films, that the reviewers are deliberately reviewing them bad. But yet, look at the reviews and look at the success of the box office. Mm-hmm. Something's not right.
No.
It's not a conspiracy theory.
It's just that... But the problem is that...
The problem is the executives won't keep their greedy little, grubby little fingers out of things.
Yes. See, this is where we run into the problem. And you know the situation has gone completely out of control when you have somebody looking at it who has no experience with this kind of stuff, as in hasn't gone to film school and never took a business class or anything like that, and is looking at
She's talking about herself.
You know, and is looking at all this stuff and going, that ain't right. You know, that kind of a thing.
Now, people keep wondering why Warner keeps losing directors, and the reason is because of interference. Mm-hmm. We want to see what happens to a superhero movie that might have not been that bad had it not been for studio interference. See Fantastic Four, which even Eric hated. So you know it's got to be bad.
Now you guys all know for the last couple of years, if you've been listening to our show, that we, more me than him anymore, are wrestling fans.
Oh, I'm still a fan. I'm just more casual than I used to be.
And the whole thing with Kurt Angle and his what was it, 3 eyes or 4 eyes? 3 eyes. Intensity, integrity, and intelligence.
Oh, right.
The problem is that the Warner Brothers studio has their own 3 eyes. Impatience, ignorance and ineptitude. That's the big problem.
Yeah.
The impatience...
Because after, the impatience started back in the late '80s when all of a sudden Marvel, boom, exploded with Iron Man. So immediately, without thinking that Iron Man was going to be the first part of a slowly building universe that would culminate in the Avengers in 2012... No, we can't wait that long. We got to have it right now. We're going to put this thing into operation called Justice League Mortal.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to be in the same movie. While I have now read the script from that film, and it actually would have been very good, based on the script, and the fact that George Miller was slated to direct. Miller, of course, the director of Mad Max. Also, strangely, the director of Happy Feet. Yeah. So it's like, okay.
And the fact that Michael Angarano was
out for it. He didn't make the final cast. He didn't make
that didn't hurt as far as you're concerned. But the thing is, Marvel has taken the attitude of basically, for lack of a better term, and this is also leaning into something that I'm more into than you are, it's the whole idea of sewing a quilt. Now, when you sew a quilt, you have squares.
That's a good analogy, actually.
For those of you who don't know anything about sewing or crafting or anything like that, I'm going to lay some stuff on you. Okay. I've never sewn a quilt like this in my life, but I know people...
She does needlepoint, not quilts, but she does know people that do them. So.
You can always tell when I'm sewing,
and you can always watch the National Quilting Bee on slow TV on Netflix. From Norway, right?
Yeah, I think so. You can always tell when I'm sewing because you hear, ow, damn it, ow, damn it, ow, damn it. Listen to that about 20 times. But anyway, the whole idea of making a quilt, when you look at these big, beautiful quilts, you have people sewing, you have a square, and then you have another square, and another square, and another square. You keep doing this in a pattern, in a certain order, done a specific way, and then at the end of it, you step back and you go... Gosh darn, that's beautiful. You've got this beautiful quilt made of all these different parts that all blend together, and it's all seamless, and now it's one big picture, and isn't that cool?
There's your Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right. The way DC is doing this is like trying to put together a jigsaw puzzle blindfolded while you're on a tilt-a-whirl. I don't think that's inaccurate, do you?
No, actually. Another reason why people have watched the DC Universe kind of bubble under is because Zack Snyder earned the enmity of the comic fans with his, I think, very faithful version of Watchmen. Yeah. They didn't like the ending, but you couldn't do the ending for the comic. It wouldn't have worked. It's like, okay.
You could not do
Watchmen was excellent.
You could not do Watchmen the movie like Watchmen the graphic novel.
No.
When it came to the ending.
Just like you can't do all the Harry Potter. Like Stacy wants every little detail from every Harry Potter book in every movie, and each Harry Potter movie would be 17 hours long.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Now, for most people, that would be a problem. For people like...
And incidentally, that's also a Warner property.
For people like Stacy... Hey, Stacy... That's not a problem. But it is a problem for the rest of us who are sitting next to people like Stacy, who are going, that didn't happen, that didn't happen,
that happens 2 books away.
Yeah, that happens in the next book. Who's this character? On and on and on. Now, I understand sometimes you do have to change things for brevity's sake or for the fact that if you don't, other people are going to bitch about your movie. Case in point, the Lord of the Rings film, specifically The Fellowship of the Ring.
More people have seen the Peter Jackson film in the last 15 or 20 years when it came out in 2001, so we're getting 15 years there. Mm-hmm. And have now embraced that because of the movie, and that led to a massive explosion of people reading it.
Right. And that's a good thing. People reading more books equals good
thing. And then
thing.
people going like, this didn't happen in the movie. This didn't happen in
the
movie.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure a lot of people went, where the F is Arwen? What do you mean she's only got...
Chris, where are you when we need you? Anyway.
But obviously, you took a film like... You took a property like The Fellowship of the Ring, and if you didn't have the character of Arwen in there, in the first film, you would have had one female character with lines. One. Galadriel.
Galadriel, yeah.
And that would have been it. No. That's not going to play well anymore. People are going to go, what the hell is...
It would have played well better then than it would now. In this politically charged
People are going to go, what the hell is wrong with your movie?
Right.
You know, it's like...
So anyway,
getting back to DC.
Yeah.
The problem is that DC doesn't want to do what Marvel does.
DC does want to do it. Warner Brothers won't let the DC division do it.
That's more accurate.
They keep sticking their fingers in it.
Warner Brothers looks at what Marvel does and then goes to DC and says, we want the same thing. DC says, okay, well, we're going to stitch things together carefully and precisely like Marvel did. Warner Brothers is like, no.
No, we want 3 movies right now.
We want it now. And DC's like, we can't do that. Marvel, look what we don't care what Marvel did. We want it this way, and we want it now, and we want it as good, and we want it to make as much money.
Do it our way or else.
Yeah.
So
we get stuff like we've gotten.
Well, no. In all fairness, we have enjoyed the DC universe so far.
We have.
A lot of people. Well, it started with Man of Steel. Again, This was the Zack Snyder vision. I think Man of Steel is the best Superman film ever made. I adored that movie. Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, did not get the kind of love that it deserved, but it isn't nearly as bad as people said it was, and I enjoyed it also.
I did too.
Suicide Squad, not so much. I was not happy with that film at all, and I just didn't think it was really good. But then, a bright spot. Wonder Woman. Patty Jenkins put together the best movie of the DC universe so far, and Gal Gadot portrayal of Wonder Woman, even though they changed they did make one major change to it. They set it in World War I rather than World War II.
Right.
But it worked for the movie.
It did work.
And now people are saying, well, hey, maybe Warner Brothers has learned their lesson from Wonder Woman. Now they realize, hey, we can have a critically acclaimed hit. A lot of people think Oscars are coming for Wonder Woman. That we can build the way Avengers has. The Avengers universe has. Nope. Oh, no, we got movies coming out with Batgirl, Nightwing, Joker. 3 different movies with the Joker.
We're going to do a different...
And it's all coming out before 2022.
We're going to have a different Batman movie. We're going to have a solo Flash movie. We're going to have a solo Aquaman movie.
Well, the solo Aquaman movie is the only one that's actually filmed. It's currently filming. The Flash movie has been changed so many times and that was, I am a Flash fanatic.
He is.
Love the TV show, love the original show, have read the comic book since I was a kid for many, many years. And the absolutely inspired casting of Ezra Miller makes this an amazing property that Warner Brothers has no freaking clue what to do with.
Nope.
They lost 2 directors. Now they've changed it to Flashpoint, which means... Flashpoint, if you're familiar with it, upended the entire DC universe.
Yes,
so they're making plans to do all these feature films, and then Flashpoint, scheduled right now for 2020, is going to upend everything so they can start over again?
Yeah. There is actually an animated film already. There is an animated film out called The Flashpoint Paradox.
Yes, we haven't seen the animated film. I've read enough about it, and they've done some of it on the Warner Brothers show, the CW show.
Not even dealing with the fact that they've said that Warner Brothers has said, well, these are all going to be in different universes.
There's going to be splinter universes, and I'm like, well, when you think about it, when you think about it, that's right up DC's alley. Mm-hmm. How many times have they had... that's what Crisis on Infinite Earths was all about. Mm-hmm. I feel like we're stepping into Ant and Pee-wee's realm here, but I on Comic Grotto, but I've got to say this. If they're actually going to do this, which it's a stupid idea, just to be totally blunt, people at DC and Warner Brothers, you are freaking idiots if you continue to plan this way. Mm-hmm. Because the movies will all bomb, and you're going to be going like, what happened? I don't know. I'm sorry, that was terribly
Well, they'll blame the public, they'll blame the internet.
They'll blame everybody but the people in charge.
But themselves, yeah.
and it's disgusting. The thing I've completely lost where I was going with that, but
never mind that we have to deal with the Splinter thing on TV.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, thank you.
You know.
The Crisis on Infinite Earths thing kind of opens it up for different worlds. Like, you don't have, unlike this is interesting. Again, this is differing from Marvel. All of Marvel's properties since Iron Man have existed inside the Marvel Cinematic Universe, except the films put out by 20th Century Fox, who owns the rights to Sony owns Spider-Man, and then Fox has the rights to
the
Fantastic
X-Men,
Four and the X-Men.
And Deadpool.
Well, that's X-Men. That's X-Men universe. So none of those count, sort of. They can build their own, they're now building their own extensive X-Men universe right now. But everything else Marvel has done, even the newest Spider-Man movie, which is done in a special deal with Sony, exists inside the MCU. Whether it's all of the feature films, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. television series, the upcoming Inhumans television series, and all the Netflix series.
Yeah.
They're all in the same cinematic universe.
Yep.
So, why is DC having such a problem with this? You can do this and make it work.
You can.
The problem is Warner Brothers is always and has always been the least responsive and most stubborn studio on the planet. Bar none. Anyway.
Like I mentioned, I mean, if you look at the TV stuff, like you mentioned with Marvel, all of their stuff is connected. Even if it's not connected by somebody showing up, someone from the movie showing up.
Right.
They mention things.
Well, they've made it clear from the beginning that the movie universe and the TV universe were going to be separate. But the TV universe is all cohesive. The movie universe so far is not.
Well, I'm still talking about Marvel.
Oh, I thought you were talking about DC.
No,
sorry.
I mean the Marvel stuff. What I mean is you don't have to have Chris Evans as Captain America showing up on an episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something like that. They just have to mention it.
Yeah.
Like
which they did, or they had Lady Sif from the Thor movies do an episode, or whatever. Yeah.
They don't even have to have that, though. All they have to do is mention something. When they first brought Daredevil to Netflix, all they had to do was mention that, this guy beat up a bunch of bad guys, and he didn't have a magic hammer or a suit of armor. That's all they did. And you went, okay, this is part of that.
There's one other continuity, big continuity in the Marvel universe.
What?
Nobody knows Coulson's still alive!
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, can we work on that, please? I want a big tearful reunion between Coulson and Cap. I want that. Make it happen, Marvel. But the DC stuff, okay, now... First of all, you had...
The TV universe that DC is building on the CW is amazing. It's well written, well acted, well put together, and the continuity is working.
Yep.
Why can't they do that in the big screen?
I don't know.
You have Arrow, Flash, Heroes of Tomorrow, and Supergirl existing on the fringe. It's been brought in as an alternate universe. And this season, you're going to have Black Lightning, and there is also, because Greg Berlanti is the producer, you've got to keep in mind that anything Berlanti is producing could conceivably cross over with DC, which means Riverdale, and now Dynasty.
Yeah.
So it could get very interesting.
And there are other CW shows as well. There have been people... And I didn't start it. This is not my fault.
Supernatural isn't inside that universe, but it's on the same network. So
it is on the same network, and there have been a bunch of people...
And it is Warner Brothers.
And there have been a bunch of people saying that they would love to see a Supernatural Arrow crossover.
Ew. No. If you're going to have Supernatural crossover, the only place it would probably really work is Heroes of Tomorrow. Because they can split in and out of different places, and it would make sense for them to have their little TARDIS thing go offline and end up in Sam and Dean's universe.
Well, yeah, but Sam and Dean have been thrown into other universes all the time.
But that's also... Well, yeah, that's true, too.
Yeah, so, like I said, there's been a groundswell of that stuff, which I would like to go on record right now saying, I did not start, do not yell at me, it's not my fault, although I do back it. I think that
you
that
ship
would...
it?
I totally ship it. I totally ship it.
My mouth shut.
because I love to instigate things. Hooray. But, I mean, that all works on TV so well, and we're like, this is really great. And then you look at the movie stuff and what they're planning to do and what they want to do, and we're like, great gosh almighty, this is going to be a train wreck. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, but...
I'm looking forward to Justice League. I am.
I am, too.
I think it's from the trailers, and knowing that Joss Whedon is in charge of it now, having stepped in for Zack Snyder after he dropped out because of his daughter's suicide, I think that the man who guided the Avengers through that, if he can manage to get the freedom that he needs from DC and manage to convince the suits that he knows how to do this, we might see some cohesiveness finally start to develop.
That would be nice.
It ain't looking good, though.
No. And I'm sorry, I'm not knocking Martin Scorsese. I would never do that, ever, because I'd probably...
Marty, don't sign on the dotted line, please.
I don't want a gritty, urban, like Joker movie. I want the Joker to be out there and insane and completely off the charts. I don't want it based in reality.
The only way that would work... No. They weren't going to base it in reality. It's going to be based in the DC universe. But the only way that would work if Scorsese was going to actually produce it is if they did it in flashback and had Nicholson come back for the part. Which you can't do because they killed him off at the end of Batman.
Yeah.
So...
And it's not because I don't think Leonardo DiCaprio wouldn't be great.
No, he wouldn't.
No,
Not
he
as a
wouldn't.
Joker.
I'm sorry. I can't.
Of course, we also said the same about Christian Bale as Batman, but, Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck turned out to be really good as Batman.
Yeah.
Which stunned me.
Considering that it's like, he's going to be Batman. No, he's not. He's thinking about... It's like...
Where it concerns Affleck, don't listen to the rumors.
Please.
A lot of times, there have been more and more rumors flying around. Affleck has more stroke than anybody thinks he does. And he wants to keep playing the Batman. He's made it clear. The chances of them firing him for somebody else when they know he wants to do it are not really good. In all honesty. And I like his take on the character. I was stunned, but I did like his take on the character.
I like his Batman, and surprisingly enough, I like his Bruce Wayne. I want to see him continue with this character.
He's not head bob, smile. Head bob, smile.
No.
Like Mr. Clooney.
No. And
although that wasn't George's fault.
And there's not a nipple in sight. Thank you very much, Mr. Schumacher.
We want to know, and it wasn't his fault either again, it was the suits that did that.
Yeah.
We'd like to know what your take on the DC Universe is, whether you think it's ever going to get back on track with Marvel, and we're talking the theatrical, and generally... what you would like to see them try to do with the DC Universe on the big screen. Subject Cinema at PNRNetworks.com.
The best movies! Subject Cinema!
Want to know what top titles from film and TV are hitting home video this week? Hi, I'm TC Kirkham of Subject Cinema, inviting you to check out Tuesday Digidex, our weekly roundup of all the new home video releases in the U.S. each week. Whether it's DVD, Blu-ray, or streaming you're looking for, we've got it covered. Tuesday Digidex, every Tuesday morning, from Subject Cinema at ecinema1.com, a PNR Networks podcast powered by Libsyn. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast service.
Na 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 Pee-wee. And holy rusted metal, it's Aunt B too.
Hi, I'm Aunt B. Join myself and Pee-wee every week as we cover comic books, comic stuff that's happening on TV, comics in the movies.
And we'll be doing it all in our tightest tights and our capiest capes in our secret lair.
Comic Grotto, where two guys light up the bat signal. www.comicgrotto.com.
PNR Network shows depend on our listeners. It's you that makes us who we are. Help us bring you all the best we can. Become a Patreon patron. Donations start at just $2 a month, and the more patrons we can get, the more we'll be able to offer. You can get great perks, plus exclusive blogs and podcasts available only for being a patron as well. It's absolutely fantastic. So please, become a Patreon patron today. We need you. Patreon.com/PNR Networks.
Subject Cinema. Drive-in summer.
All summer long, right here on Drive-In Summer, we've been saluting some terrific drive-ins. Some of them we picked ourselves, a lot of them we heard from. And now, without further ado, here's a look back at all of the drive-in salutes this summer. And what do we say? Salute! Subject Cinema's Drive-In Summer salutes. Subject Cinema's Drive-In salutes the South Drive-In, the Family Drive-In Theater, the Skyview Drive-In, salutes the Harvest Moon Twin Drive-In. Subject Cinema's Drive-In Summer salutes the Field of Dreams Drive-In Theaters. There's 2 locations. The 99W Drive-In Theater in the Minden Twin Drive-In right here in Massachusetts. Woo! The Mahoning Drive-In Theater, Drive-In Film Festival, and Sacco Drive-In, and the AutoView Drive-In Theater in Colville, Washington, the Boonies Drive-In Theater in Tilbury, Ontario, it's the Holiday Twin Drive-In in Fort Collins, Colorado, it's the Star Drive-In, it's the Monetta Drive-In Theater in Monetta, South Carolina, affectionately known as the Big Mo. It's one of the oldest theaters of its type anywhere in the country. Everybody comes for the world-famous cheeseburgers and homemade fries.
You had me at homemade fries.
Their big draw, location. Playgrounds are hard to get a hold of these days because the insurance costs have skyrocketed. And, hamburgers, hot dogs, sausage, chili dogs, poutine, of course, it's Canada. And
it does sound kind of cool.
Yeah.
If you don't want to sit in your car, it's a nice balmy night, you can sit in the swing.
Definitely someplace I would want to check out. And it is this week's Subject Cinema Drive-In Summer Salute.
Salute! Salute! Salute!
Big Subject Cinema Drive-In Salute. Salute! We had a lot of fun this summer doing Drive-In Summer. And we'd like to know if you'd like to see it happen again next summer. Drive-In Summer has been an idea that just came to us, and we were like, wow, this gives us a chance to talk about just everything under the sun, and it gives us a chance to talk about some really old, different genres that were popular. It gives us a chance to publicize the fact that drive-ins are alive and well. People don't realize if they don't live in the rural part of most of America, the middle America, and in some cases toward the southeast, they probably don't really realize there's that many drive-ins left.
Right.
There's still over 300 of them. They're growing every year. They have portable drive-ins now where you can inflate the screen and invite people to pull up their car and see it in a field or whatever.
Yeah.
We'd like to know what you thought of this year's show and whether or not you'd like us to do it again next year. And in order to do that, we're asking you to drop us a line, subjectcinema@PNRNetworks.com. Put Drive-In Summer on the subject line and tell us what you thought about our special shows this summer and whether or not you'd like them to continue. We certainly are enjoying it, and we hope you did too.
Subject Cinema. Drive-In Summer. T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown.
I'd like to take this moment to check and say thank you to our co-presenters of Drive-In Summer this year. The marvelous drive-in film Going Attractions, the definitive story of the American drive-in from director April Wright. April's newest movie is Going Attractions, the definitive story of the American movie palace.
Cool.
And it will be out later this year. The trailers are on her website. She's been helping promote the show all summer, and it's been great, and that movie is great. If you want to see a great movie about classic drive-ins, Going Attractions is the one to do. Also, we want to say thank you to driveins.com, your one-stop source for all drive-in information at drive-ins.com, our sponsor for the Drive-In Salutes, and a number of other things throughout the year. We've enjoyed teaming up with both of you, and maybe next year we'll get a chance to do it again.
That'd be awesome.
So let's do our what we've been doing for all the drive-ins all summer. To you, thank you for coming on board. We salute you for being a part of the show. Salute!
Subject Cinema. Drive-In Summer.
It's absolutely apptacular. The Subject Cinema Android app. Everything you need to be a rabid Subject Cinema fan. Subject Cinema, 3-Minute Weekend, Tuesday Digidex, and Front Row 5 and 10. All right at your fingertips and available instantly. Plus, email and voicemail links, Facebook and Twitter hookups, Patreon support specials, and more is coming real soon. Don't just listen, app it. The all-in-one Subject Cinema podcast app. Android version available now at Google Play or on PNRNetwork websites. Amazon and iPhone apps coming soon. Don't delay. Download today.
eCinema Boston is your best choice for all the latest news and info about happenings in the world of film here in the hub of the universe. Local theater listings, ticketing info, reviews of local venues, spotlight on Boston actors, the latest film shoots, and a whole lot more. If you're in the Metro Boston area, you need eCinema Boston from PNRNetworks. Once you visit, you will always be back for more. eCinemaBoston.com.
Subject Cinema. Drive me a summer. T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown.
Quick, a few little notes here for the Subject Cinema calendar. If you're listening day and date, which is September 3rd, 2017, our final installment of Triple Feature Weekend will be up on Labor Day, Monday, the 2017 eCinema 1 Rising Stars Honors. We will name our top 10 men and women this year as the honors move permanently from July 4th to Labor Day, and we'll bring you a lot of great new faces you're going to be seeing over the next few years that we think you really should keep an eye on. Although it's going to be hard to top last year's list. We had Theo Taplitz and Ruth Naga on the top of last year's list, and that's going to be difficult to touch. The following weekend, September 10th, Subject Cinema will be not here. Or will not be here.
We will not be here.
Or will be not here. Or will here be not.
Could you stop that?
Subject Cinema is off on the 10th. We will be back on September 17th with one of our catch-up shows on some of the films that we haven't had a chance to talk about that came out over the summer. And, of course, we're in September, and you know what that means. Right? What happens after September?
October.
And what does October mean on Subject Cinema?
Screams.
Yeah. Halloween horrors coming up as always as we head into October and Kim's favorite month of the year. We'll be doing
psychotic laughter.
all horror films all the time during Subject Cinema's October, and we hope that you will be there for us as well. And that will kick off, I think, on October 5th, if I'm not mistaken. We also have other shows on. Platinum Rose's Garden will be back in mid-October with Supernatural Returns for its 13th, lucky 13th season.
Yeah.
Catastrophe Vortex will be back in late September, I promise. We have K-Babble with Eric and Valerie Lyon, ongoing at kbabble.com. Comic Grotto with Aunt B and Pee-wee, ongoing at comicgrotto.com. And our two mini shows, 3-Minute Weekend and Tuesday Digidex, every Friday and Tuesday each week with all the new releases. Friday on theaters and Tuesday on home video. And we'll have a lot more special stuff coming up as we head into the end of the year, and we hope that you'll be there and join us and stick around. If you're new from Drive-In Summer, keep listening. You'll see what regular Subject Cinema is like,
We hope
too.
you definitely will.
Subject Cinema's Drive-In Summer is co-presented by Going Attractions, the definitive story of the American drive-in, from director April Wright. You can check it out right now on Amazon Prime or order the DVD at goingattractions.com.
Subject Cinema. Drive me a summer.
eCinema 1 is your choice for great info and commentary about the world of film and entertainment. Daily trailer postings, the latest news and film reviews, commentary about the state of the industry, the weekly Subject Cinema and 3-Minute Weekend podcast, and so much more you won't believe it. New material is being posted daily. So join us each day and see what you're missing out on. Once you visit, you will always be back for more. eCinema One from PNRNetworks. eCinema1.com.
Keep connected to Subject Cinema and all the great PNR Network shows and sites. Hook up with us on Facebook. Facebook.com/Popcorn and Roses. That's popcorn, the letter N, roses. Keep up with our wild and wacky thoughts every day. Follow us on Twitter. At eCinema1 and at eCinemaBoston for TC, at Platinum Rose L for Kim. You won't believe the things we tweet about unless you check us out today.
Subject Cinema. Drive me a summer. TC Kirkham and Kim Brown.
We kind of started this back in the beginning of the season, really haven't kept up with it, but we do watch America's Got Talent every summer, and we enjoy it and have a lot of fun watching, and I'll be like, go crazy over Simon Cowell, and
not crazy in a good way either.
Yeah. So we're up to the final through the quarterfinals, and they're up to the people that made the semifinals at this point. There were a lot of good acts that did not get through, unfortunately. And it seems a lot of our favorites, a couple of our favorites did not get through, which is suck. But
well, that happens every year. Every year, there's always somebody that we're like, this is going to be awesome. They're going to make it. Everything's going to be great. What the F do you mean they got eliminated? Son of a bitch.
0A. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the video people this year.
Yeah.
They were terrific.
That act can be summed up in one phrase. Too hip for the room.
The question you have to ask is, are the acts worthy of headlining a 90-minute show in Vegas?
Mm-hmm.
They have had so many acts that didn't even come close to qualifying for that this year that I'm like, why are you letting these people through to the quarterfinals?
Yeah.
People like Double Image who were just terrible. And I mean, that's supposed to sustain paying customers for 90 minutes?
Apparently.
Twin 16-year-olds who sing and dance.
Mm.
Very, very,
Campily?
Campily? There, thank you. That's a much better word than what I was going to go for.
You know things are bad when I have to be the voice of decorum. You have a big problem then.
So for the next 2 weeks, the semifinals are coming up, and they've switched some of the people around from the original announcements. Competing in semifinal 1, roller skating duo Billy and Emily England, who are insane. Chase Gehring, singer, songwriter, guitarist. Daniil Damon and Greater Works, the first gospel choir to make it to the semifinals in the history of the show. Darcy Lynn Farmer, an adorable 12-year-old ventriloquist who sings.
Yes.
Evie Clare, another child singer. Eric Jones, close-up magician. Johnny Manuel, another singer. Mike Young, another singer. They have a lot of singers on this one.
A lot of really good singers.
Preacher Lawson, who is a stand-up comedian that I wasn't terribly impressed with. Sarah and Hero, a dog act that I wasn't terribly impressed with. And Yoli Mayer, a singer. They're all good and terrific. Week 2 will feature semifinalist Angelica Hale, a dynamite little 9-year-old singer. Celine Tam, another dynamite little 9-year-old singer, although she's not as good as Angelica Hale was. Christian Guardino, teenage singer. Colin Cloud, a mentalist, which I couldn't believe he got through. I was surprised because the trick this last week was just kind of off.
It took a lot to set up.
Yeah.
It was a cool trick, but it was kind of like, while we're young, Colin, the seasons are changing. Come on.
Diavolo, an incredible acrobatic dance group that is really high on my list for this year's winners.
They definitely look like an act that you could definitely
I would go to see Diavolo in the second if they came to the Wang or the Hart Wilbur or wherever.
I would go see them, but that is one of, I would actually not want to be in the first couple of rows for that act, because you might wind up with a performer in your lap.
In the stairwell, an a cappella group from the Marines or the Army?
I think they're from the Army. They're from the military. And
Kechi Okawuchi, who's just going by Kechi on the show, marvelous singer. Light Balance, a dance group that specializes in light up outfits and stuff.
Man, I love those guys.
Mandy Harvey, a singer who is 100% deaf and amazing. And Merrick Hanna, this adorable 12-year-old pop and lock dancer that is just stolen my heart the whole season. He is so good at that.
I would like to say something about Kechi, because you mentioned Mandy's obstacles that she's had to overcome.
Kechi overcame a plane crash.
Yes, she
bad
was
one. She was one of the only two survivors
of a horrific plane crash, and she suffered awful burns, but she just hasn't given up and has an amazing voice. Mandy is unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's so many people that I'm like, see, this year's show is like if you put me in a room full of puppies.
This happens every year.
I want to take you all home. No, not as bad. Not as bad.
Last year it did. We both knew Grace VanderWaal was going to win the minute she hit the stage in the first episode of the season.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, this kid is amazing.
She is. She was completely amazing. But it's just like, there's so many acts this season that I'm like, they're incredible, they're incredible, they're incredible. I hate this.
Yeah, it's hard.
This really sucks.
I have to admit, as much as I like all of the singers and stuff, I honestly, at this point in time, although I'd hate to see them lose or like come in like first or second or third, usually when you come in the top 12, you're in the finals or semifinals, you are known. You will maintain that.
Right.
I mean, Emil and Daryl finished 7th, and they've got a huge online following. They're rock cellos, and they're amazing.
Look at someone like Tapeface, who is a
Tapeface was hysterical.
That we were lucky enough to see perform.
We reviewed it earlier this summer. He was amazing. He was hilarious.
He was so brilliant.
And I have to admit, my heart here this season, of all of the winners and all of the good people, I think my gut is pointing me toward Diavolo as the winners.
Really?
I adore them. I adore Merrick Hanna. And Kechi is an amazing, amazing vocalist. And she is this year's Susan Boyle. You remember how Simon Cowell reacted on Britain's Got Talent 7 years ago when Susan Boyle walked out as a housewife and to sing and stunned the world and became a worldwide superstar.
Yeah.
Kechi, because of her appearance, she was burned over 80% of her body. Kind of freaked people out. And then she opened her mouth and, oh my God, the woman has a voice sent from God. It's like, how can you miss this?
She has an amazing voice, and her story touches your heart so much. Mandy has like you mentioned.
Mandy's fantastic.
Mandy
I gotta say,
is an amazing singer who lost her hearing because of an illness, and just keeps singing, and is just so amazing and incredible. I am completely fell over adoring Darcy Lynn Farmer. She is such a...
Darcy Lynn is a little girl version of Terry Fader, who was the winner of season 2.
She is such a sweet girl. I want to be her best friend and hang out with her at the mall and stuff like that, and just be like, you're awesome. You know, she's just so sweet and wonderful.
And she's only been doing it for a year, which I think is really amazing, that she's been able to take that singing voice and transform it into her figures and make it work so well.
Eric Jones freaks me out. In a great way.
Eric Jones is not
so
one of my favorite
good at what
performers.
he does. It's like, wow.
I would have picked the old guys over Eric Jones. It's just me.
There's so many other acts that are so amazing. Bill and Emily.
Billy and Emily are scary.
Billy and Emily are amazing to watch when I can watch them through my fingers, because I'm just like, oh my God, somebody's gonna die.
They do all kinds of tricks wearing blades, and it's crazy.
It's
and they're
like,
good.
oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
They're really good.
Do they use blades, or are they on quads?
I think they've used both, actually. I think they use blades on one and quads on another one.
Yeah.
But they're something else. And Chase Gehring, he's got a shot at winning. He doesn't need to win. The minute that song last week came out of his mouth, he's going to have recording contracts landing at his feet because this guy writes his own music. He has a very Jason Mraz, Andy Grammer style. He's got this shock of electric Weasley-like hair.
He's so cute.
And he's just an amazing performer.
He's so cute. I want to hug the spit out of him.
So we'll keep you up to date in the next few weeks on this and have coverage of the finals in a few weeks. But if you're interested, AGT airing its semifinals Tuesdays at 8 and the results Wednesdays at 8 over the next 2 weeks. We're going to head on out of here, and we thank you all for being with us for our Subject Cinema's Drive-In Summer. We also want to point out that we're not completely heartless. We wanted to wait till the end of the show where, this is happening in real time, September 3rd. We're aware of the devastation that has hit Texas.
Yeah.
It is always a good idea to check out the sources where if you're going to donate to help out. Texas needs all the help they can get.
Definitely.
Sometimes when people, mention numbers you can call on your cell phone or do an email to or check out a website particular, they're usually up and up, but they don't always get all the money where it should go. We've actually spent a couple of days doing some research and the recommended, if you want to donate to victims of Hurricane Harvey and want to be certain that victims will indeed get the money, the Cantor Fitzgerald Relief Fund is the way to go. Cantor Fitzgerald has an excellent track record since 9/11 when they lost, I believe, over 200 people in the collapse of one of the towers. The movie Out of the Clear Blue Sky is about that, and it'll rip you apart. You should definitely see it. They have been active in charities and trying to get, when there's huge, epic tragedies like this, they get together, pull their resources and get everything together. They are currently focused on Harvey and working hard to get money to people affected by Hurricane Harvey.
Definitely.
Just as they did prior to that, in addition for 9/11, 2 other disasters that have happened, including Katrina and others. The Cantor Fitzgerald Relief Fund, we'll have a link to it in the show notes. You can go over and check out. We'd also like to mention that if you caught our fall preview edition and are waiting for the calendar, our calendar of movies coming out this fall will be up on Tuesday on ecinema1.com with links to as many films as I can find links to in a calendar format. They'll be in order that they're expected to come out according to Entertainment Weekly about 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
And we'll mention that there was one that was questionable. There'll be a question mark by it when it's in the calendar. Anything else going on that you'd like to talk about?
I think that's it, although we would like to say to the people in Texas and dealing with Hurricane Harvey.
We both have relatives down there,
we
so we know what that's like.
We have relatives down there, and we're thinking about you. You're in our hearts and our prayers, and we hope that everybody gets back to something like normalcy. We know some people have lost their lives, other people have lost property, and we really wish you all the best down there, and our prayers and thoughts are with you.
Indeed. So that's going to do it for Drive-In Summer this year. Let's turn off the big screen on the front, turn off all the pole speakers and the AM and FM radios, turn in the drizzle guards and the picks, and shut down the concession stands. And maybe we'll get to come back to the drive-ins next summer. For Subject Cinema, I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
May your popcorn always be buttered.
And may your roses always be in bloom.
TTFN.
Bye now.
You have been listening to Subject Cinema with hosts T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema is produced by PNRNetworks, Boston, Massachusetts, which is solely responsible for its content.
Subject Cinema is recorded and produced using Sony Vegas products. Subject Cinema is copyright 2017 by PNRNetworks under a Creative Commons license. Check out a new episode of Subject Cinema every weekend. Until next time, this is Bob Taylor for Subject Cinema, and we'll see you at the movies.
That's all.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.